Sarah Palin is on Glenn Beck's program, and she does something startling. She makes Glenn Beck look kind of smart. I watched a huge portion of this, and from time to time you're like, well, Beck is actually making a decent point, and wow, Palin is so much dumber than Beck. And that's shocking. Now, the first clip we're going to give you is a classic. It's about the Founding Fathers. And now, in this case, Beck at one point calls her out, and I'm like, hey, look at that. And then he goes back to, stroking her in massive ways. That sounds like fun, right? Okay, so let's go to clip number 11.
I have to tell you that every time I bring up your name and somebody says, who's out there? I answer one of two ways. I'm waiting for George Washington to appear. And then it's usually followed by your name. And I say, but yeah. I don't know. And it's not I don't know if you're smart enough. I find this insulting. Your kids must find that extraordinarily insulting when they hear that.
Sad day.
It's not that you're not capable or anything else. I don't know. I don't know. I can't give my trust out to anybody anymore. Yeah. Every time you do, they burn you. Yeah. Every time you're like, oh.
It's because we have a fallen world and mankind has fallen, and we can never put. I don't believe that we were created to be able to put our faith wholly, solely, except for our spouse, in another person. Certainly not in a politician. I don't believe that. Except, looking back on our founding fathers and seeing the sincerity there, the genuine love that they had of country, I don't think in recent days we can find too many of those politicians.
That's why we got to stop looking and stop taking from the barrel and start picking from the tree. Who's your favorite founder?
Well, all of them, because they came collectively together with so much diverse,
who's your favorite?
So much diverse opinion and so much diversity in terms of belief, but collectively they came together to form this union. No, and they were led by, of course, George Washington. So he's got to rise to the top. Washington was the consummate statesman. He served, he returned power to the people. He didn't want to be a king. He returned power to the people. Then he went back to Mount Vernon. He went back to his farm. He was almost reluctant to serve as president, too. And that's who you need to find to serve in government, in a bureaucracy. Those who will serve for the right reasons, because they're reluctant to get out there and seek a limelight and seek power. They're doing it for the people. That was George Washington.
He's my favorite for that reason as well. He was the indispensable man. And that's why I say I'm waiting for George Washington to appear. Someone who doesn't want to serve, but will because he must. And someone who's so beyond question that he can bring people together and say, look, we got to do this. This is going to be hard.
That's exactly what we need to seek in a candidate. Someone, I'll repeat this, almost reluctant to serve. Someone who will not prostitute themselves and say what they believe a voter wants to hear at that time in order to get elected. But someone whom the people find and ask, will you sacrifice, will you do this for our country to get us back on the right track?
That is why I think you're on the most admired list. Because some people find you to be that. Because you came out of the blue, and you did serve, you were asked to serve, and you got butchered, and you continually get butchered, and yet you're still going.
Yeah. Okay. That is why you're on the most admired list, because you just repeated what I said twice. Oh, you are so reluctant to serve, but you did it anyway. Do you know Sarah Palin's history? Does Beck know it at all? She wasn't reluctant to serve at all. She jumped into politics. And then we have several of her mentors who said, as soon as I turned around, she slit my throat and took my position. What the hell's reluctant to serve about Sarah Palin? The only reason she's reluctant to serve is because when she thought she could make a lot of money, she's like, well, I'm reluctant to serve as governor. I got to get out of here, man. I'll see you guys later. Time to cash in at Fox News. Comparing her to George Washington? Glenn, are you serious? Are you serious? Sarah Palin is the George Washington of today. And, of course, let's get to it, man. That was embarrassing in the middle. Who's your favorite founding father? All of them. I mean, even Glenn Beck called bullcrap on that. Did you hear him? He just literally said bullcrap. And then she's like, what's the one he mentioned earlier? What was it? Right, George Washington. I gotta say, George Washington, because he was the leader. She sounds like a third grader. Look, Beck, I have my issues with, but in other parts of the interview, he quoted Thomas Paine, etc. He knows his founding fathers. He picked Washington because he likes Washington. Are you convinced she picked Washington because she thinks that he was better than Thomas Paine or Benjamin Franklin or Thomas Jefferson or any of the other ones for substantive reasons? Are you convinced you could name any other one? All of them? No, come on, man. Come on, please, people, snap out of it. And, your name comes up all the time, Glenn says. But I don't know. I'm not quite convinced you're George Washington yet. Oh, wow. Okay, thank you. You're very open-minded. And then the nonsense about mankind is fallen. We live in a fallen world. I know it's the religious imagery that people love, on that side, right? What it has to do with the answers, I have no idea. And then finally they say, hey, you know what? She gets butchered all the time. She gets butchered because when you ask her who's her favorite founding father, she has no effing idea. Man, they think these are tough interviews, right? I mean, not Glenn Beck. She stumbles even in the easiest interview, right? But Kirk, etc. Sit her down here. Let's see what we get. Really, you like Thomas Jefferson? Okay, tell me 2 things about Thomas Jefferson. 2 things. Inconceivable she would get it. Who wrote the Declaration of Independence? Would be the answer. All of them. That would be the answer.